cannot believe, I cannot believe that I have done all this. I did not know. I did not know that it wouldn't harm them.
Hello, everyone. I don't even know where to start with this one. What began as whispers from Flagstaff has turned into one of the biggest shocks in Sister Wives history. Multiple sources have now confirmed that federal agents, yes, the FBI, showed up at Kody Brown's property. And according to insiders, the TLC film crew was already there. Cameras rolling, mics live. They caught everything. What was supposed to be a quiet day of filming turned into absolute chaos. It all began early in the morning. Neighbors described the sound of vehicles pulling up just after sunrise, unmarked SUVs, dark windows, and agents in plain clothes stepping out, badges flashing. The air was tense. One witness said they thought it was another scene being filmed for Sister Wives, until they realized no one was acting. The TLC crew was caught completely off guard, and production assistants were scrambling to figure out what to do. Some started filming, others froze. Nobody had any idea why the FBI was there, not even Kody. Now, here's where it gets wild. People close to the Browns say Kody had been nervous for weeks, pacing more, taking phone calls outside and snapping at Robin over what he called business matters. But according to one crew member, this wasn't just about money. It was something deeper. He kept saying someone was out to get him, they said. We thought it was paranoia. Now I'm not so sure. As agents entered the Flagstaff property, Kody reportedly tried to stop them, demanding to see paperwork, but they already had it, a warrant, a search order, with his name on it. Christine and Janelle were both notified shortly after through mutual friends, and one of them was overheard saying, "It's finally happening." That phrase has been haunting fans since. What did she mean by finally? Inside the house, the situation escalated quickly. The TLC cameras, still rolling, captured Kody's confusion turning into anger, then fear. He was asking, "Is this about Coyote Pass? Taxes, TLC? What is this?" But the agents didn't answer. They just moved methodically, searching rooms, checking cabinets, pulling files. At one point, Robin reportedly burst into tears, asking if she could call a lawyer. What makes this story even more unbelievable is what the TLC crew did next. Instead of shutting down production, they kept filming. Sources say the director quietly told his cameramen, "Don't stop. Keep rolling." This means there's real footage. Raw, unfiltered, never meant for public eyes. Of Kody Brown facing federal agents inside his own home. As word spread through Flagstaff, neighbors started gathering at the edge of the property. Some recorded short clips on their phones, but local authorities blocked the road shortly after. Still, whispers leaked online. One fan claimed to have seen two agents carrying sealed boxes labeled evidence. Another said they spotted a black case being loaded into a vehicle marked property of U.S. government. So what were they looking for? Some reports suggest financial records tied to old TLC contracts, possibly linked to production expenses or misreported income. Others say it's connected to land transactions involving Coyote Pass, property Kody once described as sacred family land. But here's the part that's got everyone talking. Insiders claim the warrant also mentioned unauthorized distribution of media content. That could mean footage, emails, or recordings that were never supposed to leave production hands. Fans have speculated that Kody had been threatening to take control of his story, even planning to launch his own documentary exposing TLC's behind-the-scenes manipulation. If true, this could explain why the network has been eerily quiet since news broke. No statements, no denials, just silence. Meanwhile, Robin hasn't been seen since that day. Neighbors say she left the house with her kids just hours after the raid, and hasn't returned. One camera operator told a source. She looked devastated, like she'd seen the end coming. And while we still don't know what the FBI found inside that house, one thing is clear, TLC has that footage. The question now is, will they ever release it? Or is it being buried under legal agreements, sealed in a vault to protect the network and the Brown name? But here's the eerie part. The crew says the raid didn't just end abruptly. Something happened right before they left. One of the agents reportedly stepped outside, handed a paper to Kody, and whispered something that made him go completely still. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just turned white, looked at the cameras and said softly, "They know." That's where the footage cuts off. The crew says TLC executives immediately ordered them to stop filming and pack up. They were told, "Do not talk to anyone about this." Not a word. The next day, every member of the crew had to sign a new non-disclosure agreement. Tighter, more aggressive than before. The kind that doesn't just protect a show, it protects secrets. And that's just the beginning. Because what happened after the raid, what was found in those boxes, is even more shocking. It's the part that had TLC lawyers flying into Arizona overnight, and insiders whispering that this time, even Robin wasn't protected. But before we go there, ask yourself this. What could the FBI possibly be after in a reality television family? Money missing records? Or was there something else? Something darker, that TLC had been trying to hide all along? Because whatever they found in that house, it was enough to make even the network go silent. The morning after the raid, the Flagstaff sky was unusually quiet. No production vans, no camera crew, no lights flashing across the hillside, just the faint outline of Coyote Pass, still, heavy, and strangely empty. But beneath that calm, the shockwaves from what happened inside Kody Brown's house were just starting to spread. TLC executives had flown in overnight, arriving before sunrise. By noon, the production office was locked down, phones were confiscated, and emails were suddenly inaccessible. Crew members were told their footage was being temporarily secured for review. One of them, who later spoke anonymously, said, "We knew that meant something big had been found. The network was panicking. They weren't just trying to protect Kody. They were trying to protect themselves." The boxes seized by the FBI weren't random. They were carefully labeled, sealed, and numbered, all taken from Kody's office. According to a source close to production, those boxes contained financial documents, USB drives, and several old hard drives that no one had seen in years, dating back to the early seasons of Sister Wives. Some were marked with TLC property tags, but others weren't. That was the problem. Now, here's where things start to unravel. The FBI agents reportedly found files that contained footage and behind-the-scenes recordings never meant to air. These were unedited scenes, private interviews, and even home videos filmed without crew authorization. One insider described it as the stuff TLC pretends doesn't exist, the moments that would destroy the family's image if anyone saw them. Among the drives were videos that appeared to show internal disputes about money, not just between Kody and his wives, but between Kody and TLC staff. One clip reportedly captured Kody shouting about contract changes, claiming the network had stolen his royalties. He even threatened to take everything and go independent. That's when things start to connect. Because just weeks before the raid, Kody had been talking about creating his own YouTube documentary, claiming it would reveal the real story of the Brown family. If true, this could explain why TLC executives were so quick to shut everything down. If those drives contained confidential production material, Kody would have been sitting on evidence that belonged entirely to the network. Taking or distributing that footage could cross serious legal lines, especially if money was involved. But the mystery deepened when one crew member revealed that one of the drives wasn't labeled at all. It was an unmarked black USB found inside a desk drawer. According to whispers from inside the investigation, that drive contained something far more personal, not financial records or contracts, but raw, private moments of the Brown family off-camera. Footage that showed what the family was really like when the crew wasn't around. Whatever was on that drive, the agents treated it differently. They bagged it separately, noted it in their log, and reportedly handed it directly to a federal liaison instead of the evidence truck. That's when people started realizing this wasn't just about TLC contracts. Something else was in play. Meanwhile, fans online began noticing strange changes. TLC quietly pulled several Sister Wives clips from their YouTube channel, old reunion specials, behind-the-scenes segments, even a few iconic family confessionals. They were gone without explanation. On social media, the network's accounts suddenly stopped promoting anything Kody-related. Pristine spin-off content, however, continued as usual. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe TLC was trying to quietly rebrand before something broke publicly. But it's what happened to the film crew next that made this story even more suspicious. Several crew members were abruptly reassigned or put on indefinite leave. One assistant editor claimed their personal hard drive was confiscated for review, and another said their NDA was rewritten overnight to include phrases like Federal Cooperation Clause and classified network property. That's not normal, not for reality television. As rumors spread, a few local reporters started digging. One outlet managed to confirm that an active investigation was ongoing, but refused to share details. The FBI's response to inquiries was short and chilling. "We can neither confirm nor deny any ongoing investigation related to the Brown family." In Flagstaff, neighbors said the property remained quiet. But something odd happened 3 days later. Trucks arrived, this time not from the FBI but from a private moving company. They loaded furniture, equipment, and boxes into large containers and drove off. When neighbors asked, they were told, the family's moving some items into storage. But one eyewitness said, it looked more like evidence being removed. Nothing sentimental, just boxes and paperwork. By this point, Robin had reportedly taken the kids and left the state to stay with relatives in Utah. She hadn't been seen in public since the raid, and neither had Kody. TLC insiders hinted that he'd gone dark, not answering calls or emails, completely vanishing. Some believe he was advised by his lawyer to lay low. Others say he was angry at TLC for abandoning him. And then there's this. The production logs from that week vanished from TLC's internal system. The official story was server maintenance, but multiple crew members said that footage, timestamps, and shot lists from the raid day were removed permanently. The very footage that could prove what the FBI saw, or what they took, was suddenly unreachable. Unknown insider said, the moment they realized the FBI cameras might have caught TLC's crew filming, everything changed. The network went from documenting a family drama to covering up a legal nightmare. But something strange happened next that no one expected. A leaked screenshot started circulating on Reddit, allegedly from an internal TLC scheduling app. It showed an unreleased special titled, Sister Wives, The Fallout. The description read, never-before-seen footage reveals how the family dealt with sudden federal attention and the consequences that followed. The post was deleted within minutes. TLC issued a statement calling it fake, but the wording matched the network's formatting exactly, and a watermark on the image traced back to a real TLC employee. So what was the fallout supposed to be? Was it an upcoming episode? Or was it part of the footage the network never intended to release? Now buried under layers of legal protection. As the story developed, more questions arose. Why did the agent specifically target Kody's home and not Robin's or Janelle's properties? Why were certain documents sealed under federal order? And what exactly was on that unmarked black USB drive that seemed to change everything? People close to the family say that drive, whatever was on it, is the reason Kody hasn't been seen publicly. They say he's terrified. And that's where the trail starts to blur between rumor and reality. But here's the one thing that keeps coming up again and again. Someone inside the production may have tipped off the FBI. And if that's true, it means the story doesn't end with Kody. It means someone who stood behind the cameras for years, someone fans trusted, may have been working with the government the entire time. Because the next twist in this story doesn't happen in Flagstaff. It happens in Los Angeles, where TLC headquarters quietly receives a letter from federal investigators. And inside that letter is a demand for footage that could expose everyone involved. And that, my friends, is where the real panic begins. Stay tuned for part 3 because that letter didn't just shake the network. It revealed that the truth behind the raid might go much deeper than anyone thought. Something even TLC can't control forever. By the time the letter from federal investigators reached TLC's headquarters in Los Angeles, the executives were already in crisis mode. It arrived on a Tuesday morning. No warning, no press leak, no explanation, just a plain brown envelope with a government seal and the words confidential request for media materials. Inside, a single-page notice demanded immediate access to all unaired Sister Wives footage from the last 2 seasons, including any deleted scenes, outtakes, and internal production recordings, stored off-site. One executive who saw the letter described the reaction as complete panic. Meetings were called within minutes. Lawyers, public relations officers, and senior producers crowded into the top-floor conference room overlooking Hollywood Boulevard. For hours, the building was silent except for the sounds of phones buzzing and doors slamming shut. A source from inside said, "You could feel it in the air. This wasn't just about the Browns anymore. This was about the network." Behind closed doors, the team debated their next move. If they complied fully, they risked exposing material that could damage not only Kody Brown but also TLC itself. There were scenes that had been intentionally cut, arguments, off-script admissions, even footage that revealed how the producers sometimes manipulated family narratives. The network had always maintained plausible deniability about its editing process. But once the FBI got hold of raw footage, that illusion would collapse. The first major discovery came later that week when TLC's legal division began reviewing old storage drives to prepare for the handover. Hidden within a mislabeled folder from season 17, they found a raw clip 1 that had never aired, never even been logged. In the video, Kody could be heard arguing with a member of the crew, his voice tense and paranoid. "You think they don't watch me?" he shouted. "You think they don't listen? They're everywhere." The crew member tried to calm him, but Kody continued, "I'm not stupid. I know what they want. They've been trying to make me the villain for years. The timestamp on the footage matched the same week TLC had reportedly renegotiated contracts with the Brown family contracts that some say caused the major rift between the wives and Kody. If investigators connected those dots, it could suggest TLC had knowingly exploited Kody's instability for ratings. Meanwhile, in Flagstaff, the Browns were falling apart. Janelle refused to comment publicly, but a source close to her said she had completely cut ties with Kody. Christine posted cryptic messages online about freedom and truth coming to light, while Mary avoided the spotlight altogether. Robin remained silent, her house empty, blinds drawn, neighbors reporting that a new black SUV was parked outside at all hours. As for Kody, no one knew where he was. TLC's PR team claimed he was spending time with family, but insiders said otherwise. He'd reportedly fled the state, avoiding both TLC executives and law enforcement. One crew member who had worked closely with him during the last season said he was terrified of being framed. He said they were setting him up, that the footage would be twisted against him. Then a week later, another shock hit. A local Arizona outlet broke the story that one of the FBI's evidence boxes contained a hard drive labeled Raw Set, Recording Sudden, Personal Copy. That label matched one TLC had used during production, but this copy wasn't part of the official archives. It had been made privately. That meant someone, possibly Kody, or someone close to him, had duplicated production footage without permission. What was on those recordings? That's where things got even stranger. Leaked transcripts suggested the videos included off-air conversations between Kody and a former crew member, discussing network manipulation and unauthorized editing. If those clips were authentic, they could prove that TLC altered footage to fabricate drama, potentially violating federal production disclosure laws. For the network, that was catastrophic. For Kody, it might have been the leverage he thought would protect him. But here's the part nobody expected. A second letter arrived at TLC headquarters. This one hand-delivered with no return address. It contained only a USB stick and a short note written in shaky handwriting. "You missed one." Security immediately locked down the building, fearing it was a threat. When they plugged the USB into an isolated drive, what they found left the room silent. It was a single 10-minute clip, clearly filmed from a hidden camera. The footage showed the day of the FBI raid. Unfiltered, chaotic, raw. You could see agents walking through Kody's house, boxes stacked in the corner, Robin crying near the doorway. The camera panned briefly to the TLC crew, faces pale, frozen, and then focused back on Kody. He was sitting on the edge of the couch, head in his hands, whispering something over and over. The audio was faint, but enhanced playback made out the words. "I told them this would happen. I told them it wasn't just us." That line sent shivers down the spine of every executive in the room. It wasn't just us. What did that mean? Was Kody implying other reality television families were involved? That this wasn't an isolated case, but part of a larger cover-up? TLC immediately forwarded the clip to their legal counsel, but within 24 hours the footage had been leaked online. It spread like wildfire across Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube before being taken down for copyright reasons. Fans analyzed every frame, noticing small details, like a calendar on the wall showing a date 2 weeks before the official raid, suggesting the FBI had been investigating long before anyone knew. The leak changed everything. Viewers started turning against the network, accusing TLC of hiding the truth for years. Comment sections filled with theories. Did Kody have evidence against TLC? Was the family being silenced? And most disturbingly, why hadn't the FBI released an official statement yet? In response, TLC issued a vague press release saying they were fully cooperating with all federal authorities, and that the Brown family's privacy remains our top priority. But that statement did little to stop the questions. Reporters camped outside TLC headquarters, demanding answers. Paparazzi descended on Flagstaff, hunting for any sign of Kody or Robin. One producer quietly admitted, "We're not making a show anymore. We're living in one." And just when everyone thought the situation couldn't get worse, a new player entered the story. A former TLC editor came forward anonymously, claiming they'd been contacted by investigators months before the raid. They said the FBI was after something very specific, something hidden in the footage from the early years of Sister Wives. According to the editor, it wasn't about taxes. It wasn't about money. It was about what was said off camera. Someone said too much. The editor refused to elaborate further but ended the message with one haunting line: "If the footage ever airs, the public will never look at the Brown family or TLC the same way again." That statement sent a ripple through the entire entertainment industry. If true, it meant that the raid, the investigation, even Kody's disappearance, all of it was tied to a buried secret going back years. Now, the question everyone's asking isn't what the FBI found, but what they're trying to protect. Because something about this case doesn't add up. Too many silences. Too many vanished files. Too many people who suddenly don't want to talk. And as we move into part 4, the puzzle deepens because an ex-crew member is about to come forward, revealing the truth behind that hidden footage, and why one conversation might be the key to the entire investigation. Whatever the FBI uncovered in those tapes, it's not just about Kody anymore. It's not just about Kody anymore. It's about everyone who's ever stood behind a camera thinking they were in control of the story. Days after the leaked footage hit the internet, chaos rippled through every corner of TLC's production network. The channel's PR department was in full lockdown. Entire seasons of Sister Wives were pulled from streaming platforms without warning, and legal teams scrambled to send copyright takedown notices faster than fans could repost clips. But the damage was done. Viewers had already seen too much. The terrified look on Kody's face, the cold silence of the agents, and those haunting words, "It wasn't just us." As conspiracy theories exploded online, something unexpected happened. A former Sister Wives crew member reached out to an independent journalist. The journalist, a small-name YouTuber known for breaking hidden Hollywood stories, uploaded a voice note titled, "The Secret TLC Doesn't Want You to Know." Within 12 hours, it had over 2 million views. In the recording, the crew member's voice was altered, but their words cut deep. "We were told to film everything," they said. Not just the family, but the people around them, the friends, the neighbors, even the off-camera conversations. TLC wanted control. They called it immersive storytelling, but it was surveillance. Kody found out. And when he did, everything changed. That claim hit like a bombshell. If true, it meant TLC had been recording material far beyond what was ethically or legally allowed. According to the anonymous insider, the network had hidden hundreds of hours of footage that captured the family in moments they didn't consent to share, including private phone calls, medical updates, and even arguments when cameras were supposed to be off. And here's the chilling part. Some of that footage, the insider said, didn't just involve the Browns. It included crew members talking about production manipulation, story pushing, and even how emotional breakdowns were scheduled and encouraged for better ratings. "We were told to make Kody spiral," the voice said. They wanted to show him as unstable, but they never thought he'd start believing the paranoia was real. That line, "They never thought he'd start believing it," echoed through the online fandom. Fans began piecing together past episodes, noticing odd edits, strange cuts, and moments where Kody seemed to look directly into the camera with distrust. Clips that once seemed like drama now felt like warnings. Meanwhile, the FBI investigation was expanding. Leaks suggested that agents weren't just looking into Kody's property anymore. They were reviewing TLC's production contracts and financial records. One entertainment lawyer told Variety, "If the feds are involved, there's something bigger here. They don't raid over reality television gossip." This sounds like evidence tampering or data misuse. Inside TLC, morale was collapsing. The show's producers were divided, some defending the network's integrity, others threatening to go public with what they knew. A source close to the production office claimed, "There's a sense of doom. People are deleting emails, shredding papers. It's like watching a sinking ship, and everyone's pretending it's fine." Then came the second leak. A Reddit account claiming to be run by a former assistant producer uploaded what appeared to be an old internal memo from 2019. The memo referenced something called the Brown Vault Project, a confidential archive of restricted footage containing sensitive family dynamics and external stakeholder material. That single post was enough to send fans into a frenzy. Was the vault what the FBI was after? And what did external stakeholders mean? The document vanished within an hour, but screenshots spread fast. In one section, it mentioned third-party recording sessions and data review cycles conducted without participant awareness, translation, hidden cameras, and secret recordings. If the memo was real, TLC might have been gathering private footage of not just the Browns, but possibly even people connected to the family. Amid this storm, Robin Brown broke her silence. For the first time in months, she was spotted leaving a private meeting with a TLC attorney. A paparazzi photo captured her looking shaken, clutching her phone, with tears in her eyes. Insiders claimed Robin had agreed to cooperate with investigators, not against Kody, but against the network, she allegedly said. They made him lose his mind. They wanted to break him on camera. While the public debated Robin's motives, a deeper truth began to unfold. A confidential report leaked to a journalist suggested that the unmarked USB drive found during the raid contained recordings of private TLC executive meetings. One conversation, in particular, sent shockwaves through the production industry. In it, an executive allegedly said, "If Kody burns out, we pivot. The collapse is the story. People don't watch Happy Families." That line confirmed what many fans had suspected for years, that Sister Wives had stopped being a show about family and faith long ago. It had become a psychological experiment in slow-motion destruction. By now, the FBI investigation had reached a critical point. Subpoenas were issued for multiple TLC executives. Agents began interviewing past crew members, who described secret editing rooms in Los Angeles, used for off-book projects. One of them said, "We joked about it being the vault, but no one really knew what was in there. Only 2 people had the keycards." Rumors spread that some of the footage inside the vault didn't even belong to Sister Wives. It allegedly contained clips from other TLC reality shows, scenes never meant to air, possibly obtained without consent. If true, the scandal could drag down the entire network. Meanwhile, Kody remained silent. Some claimed he'd gone off the grid entirely, living in a remote cabin in Wyoming. Others said he was negotiating immunity in exchange for evidence. TLC denied both, but something about the way they denied it, curt, emotionless, almost rehearsed, made it clear they weren't telling the whole story. Then late one night, a new audio clip surfaced on TikTok. The voice was unmistakably Kody's. You could hear him breathing heavily, his tone exhausted, broken. "They wanted us to be characters," he said. "But we were people. And when I stopped playing my part, they erased me. Now they're erasing the truth." The clip spread like wildfire before being removed. Fans debated whether it was real or AI generated, but those who knew Kody's voice swore it was him. At this point, the story was no longer about one man's downfall. It was about control, corruption, and the power of storytelling. TLC had built its empire by selling authenticity, but behind the cameras, authenticity had been weaponized. And here's the haunting twist. After that audio leak, the journalist who'd been reporting on the case disappeared. Her social media accounts were deleted, her website went dark, and her last post read simply, "They told me to stop digging." 2 days later, fans discovered her car abandoned outside a rest stop off Interstate 17. Laptop missing, doors unlocked. Police called it non-criminal circumstances. But people who followed the story knew better. Back in Los Angeles, TLC was preparing a public statement. But before they could release it, the FBI made a quiet move, sealing all case records under federal order. Just like that, everything vanished. The investigation, the leaks, the evidence, gone. No one was allowed to discuss it further. And yet, that silence only raised more questions. Because hours before the records were sealed, someone from inside the network leaked one final file to the press. A time-stamped production note from the day of the raid. It read, "Raid footage secured. Cameras kept rolling as instructed. End of recording marked by unidentified voice saying, 'They're here for more than him.'" What did that mean? More than him. What did that mean? That's the question haunting everyone connected to this story. Because if the FBI wasn't just after Kody Brown, who else were they investigating? Stay with me, because in Part 5, the final chapter, we'll uncover what the FBI's silence really means, and how this story may not have ended at all. In fact, it might have just gone underground. The days following the federal order felt eerily still, like the entire world had suddenly gone quiet around Sister Wives. TLC stopped all public communication. Their social media accounts went dormant. Press inquiries were redirected to a generic corporate affairs inbox, and longtime executives started quietly leaving the company. Yet the silence didn't erase the whispers. If anything, it made them louder. Something had shifted after the case was sealed. It wasn't just about Kody Brown anymore. It felt like the entire reality television world was holding its breath. Because when federal files disappear, that's not for drama. That's for protection. The first person to break the silence wasn't Kody, Robin, or even anyone from TLC. It was a local Flagstaff electrician named Aaron, who'd done work at the Brown family property for years. He went live on Facebook late one night, nervous, pacing in his garage, his phone trembling as he spoke. "People think that house was just for filming," he said. "It wasn't. There were rooms in there that no one talked about. Rooms you couldn't get into without a separate keycard. The lights ran off a different circuit. I don't know what was in there, but I know someone wanted it hidden. That live stream only lasted 8 minutes before it cut out." The post vanished minutes later and his account was deleted by morning. But those who saw it couldn't forget the last thing he said. They weren't filming for television. They were filming for something else. And that's where everything gets darker, because 3 days later, an anonymous Dropbox link began circulating in private fan groups, labeled simply the Coyote Files. Inside was a short clip, time-stamped the night before the FBI raid. The camera angle was odd, like a hidden security feed, and the footage grainy. You could see Kody pacing inside the house, phone to his ear, whispering, "I told you. They found out. I don't care what it takes. Shut it down." Then the video abruptly cut off. Within an hour, the clip was deleted everywhere it was posted. The uploader's account disappeared, but fans who downloaded it early noticed something strange in the frame. On the wall behind Kody hung a small mirror, and, in the reflection, there appeared to be another person in the room, someone holding a camera. That discovery reignited every theory. Was TLC still filming secretly? Was someone inside the house working with them, even after the raid? At this point, multiple YouTube investigators and journalists tried to step in, but every time a new piece of evidence surfaced, it vanished just as fast. DMCA takedowns, privacy complaints, even mysterious copyright strikes on unrelated channels. One journalist called it the fastest digital cleanup I've ever seen. Then, in an unexpected twist, a package arrived at a newsroom in Los Angeles. No sender, no fingerprints, no return address. Inside was a single SD card, and a note that read, "This was never supposed to happen." The footage on the card was only 4 minutes long, but it was enough to send chills through everyone who saw it. The clip opened with a TLC producer talking quietly off camera saying, "We're not shutting it down, not until we get what we need." The camera then panned to a dimly lit hallway, and there was Kody, arguing with someone just out of frame. He was angry, pacing, saying, "You don't understand. They'll destroy us. They'll destroy you." Then came the sound of a door slamming. For a split second, before the clip ended, a woman's voice whispered faintly in the background, "It's already done." The newsroom verified the audio as authentic, but refused to air it, citing potential interference with a sealed federal investigation. That phrase, "sealed federal investigation," was the only official acknowledgement the public ever got. Meanwhile, the Brown family seemed to vanish. Christine and Janelle stopped posting entirely. Mary closed her bed and breakfast with no notice. Robin's house went dark again, blinds drawn tight. And Kody, well, no one's seen Kody since. But here's where things get truly unsettling. An anonymous Reddit post from someone claiming to be a former federal contractor alleged that the case wasn't just sealed, it was reclassified. The post read, "The TLC investigation was absorbed into a larger file concerning unauthorized data collection and behavioral tracking experiments involving network-affiliated productions." In other words, this might not have been about the Brown family at all. It might have been about everyone who's ever stepped foot on a reality television set. According to the post, the FBI had stumbled onto evidence that certain production companies were using their filming equipment to collect data beyond what was required for the show. Audio frequencies, background device signals, even behavioral response metrics from the families. That kind of tracking wouldn't just be unethical, it would be illegal. Now, let's connect the dots. Kody's paranoia about being watched, the sealed rooms on his property, the mislabeled hard drives, the missing footage, the leaked clips showing TLC executives talking about story control and data cycles. It all fits. Maybe Kody wasn't paranoid. Maybe he knew exactly what was happening. Maybe when he said, "It wasn't just us," he meant every reality show family who thought they were being filmed for entertainment, when in reality they were being studied. And if that's true, then the Brown family's story isn't a scandal. It's a warning. Because shortly after the Reddit leak, people began noticing eerie coincidences. Other TLC shows quietly canceled, entire archives pulled offline, 90 Day Fiancé, behind the scenes vanished overnight, Seeking Sister Wife production halted. Even reruns of Sister Wives on Discovery were replaced by an error message, content temporarily unavailable. Fans thought it was a technical glitch, but those who tracked the timestamps noticed something chilling. All of it disappeared within 48 hours of that Reddit post. Then, last week, another twist hit. A former TLC executive, anonymously interviewed by a British tabloid, said this: "They can hide the footage, but they can't erase the truth. What happened on that property was real, and the cameras were still rolling when the agents left." That sentence, "the cameras were still rolling," sent shockwaves through the fandom. If true, it means somewhere out there, there's footage of what happened after the raid. Footage TLC didn't destroy. Footage the government couldn't touch. And that brings us to the final layer of this story, the one no one dares to talk about publicly. A whistleblower from within Discovery Network, TLC's parent company, contacted a small podcast 2 weeks ago. They claimed that before the FBI sealed the files, a single encrypted backup was made, a backup that contained the complete raw footage from that day. The whistleblower said, "It's stored off network, not digital. Physical tapes, locked away. They're calling it the Brown Archive." When asked what was on those tapes, the whistleblower paused before saying, "It's not what you think. It's who's in them." That one phrase changed everything, because that suggests the footage doesn't just involve the Brown family. It involves others, people in positions of control, people who were never supposed to appear on camera. And so now, as silence stretches over the story once again, fans, investigators, and insiders all find themselves asking the same haunting question. If the truth was caught on camera, who's keeping it from us? The official narrative says it's over, the case is closed, the footage is gone. But if history teaches us anything, it's that secrets like this don't stay buried forever. The walls of reality television are thin, and the cameras, well, they never really stop rolling, do they? So maybe one day, when someone finds that missing archive, when the truth finally slips through the cracks, we'll see the footage that ended it all. And when that day comes, it won't just expose what happened to Kody Brown. It will expose what's been happening to all of us, while the world watched, entertained, unaware. Because what if the greatest reality show of all was the one being filmed behind the scenes? If you're still here listening, it means you care about the truth. So don't forget to subscribe, stay alert, and never stop questioning what you see. Because somewhere out there, the cameras are still rolling.